The rain came like broken glass. It slashed through the trees, turning the forest path into a trail of mud and light. Adam Gray pulled his hood tighter, his boots sinking with every step. He had been hiking the Cascade Valley alone for 3 days, but tonight the mountains felt alive, restless, whispering with the storm. Then came the sound, not thunder. A deep tearing roar that shook the ground, followed by a flash of silver through the clouds. Something tore across the sky and vanished behind the ridges. A few seconds later, the crash came, a sound that didn't belong to the earth. Adam froze. He should have turned back. But curiosity burned stronger than fear. He moved toward the sound, through rain and branches that whipped against his face. The air smelled strange now, sharp, like metal and ozone. When he reached the riverbank, he saw it, a burning scar carved into the forest, trees split open, smoke rising from the mud. Something shimmered among the broken trunks. At first, he thought it was a twisted piece of aircraft, maybe a crash, maybe a satellite. Then he saw movement. A shape, crawling weakly from the wreckage, dragging itself toward the river. He ran before thinking. It was a woman. Or something like one. Pale skin that seemed to glow faintly under the rain, eyes that shimmered gold even in the dark. Her clothes were torn metal, more like armor than fabric. Blood, thick, dark, almost blue, spilled from her side. She looked at him as if seeing through him, her breath ragged. "Hey! Don't move," Adam said, dropping beside her. "You're hurt. I can help." Her hand shot up, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. Her touch burned cold. She said something, a short, musical word he couldn't understand, and pressed a shard of glowing metal against his skin. Pain tore through him, sharp as fire. He shouted, but the sound was lost in the storm. When she pulled her hand away, a strange mark glowed on his wrist. It looked like a small circle made of light, pulsing softly beneath his skin. "What the hell?" he started, but she had already collapsed. Adam looked around. The wreck still burned behind them, lighting the rain in red and silver. He didn't know who she was, or what had fallen from the sky, but he couldn't leave her here. He lifted her carefully, surprised at how light she felt. As he turned toward the trail, a beam of white light swept through the trees. Someone was out there. Voices followed, cold, mechanical, too calm for a rescue team. Sector 3 secure. No survivors detected. Adam ducked behind a fallen log, holding his breath. The woman's head rested against his chest, her skin was icy, her breathing faint. Through the noise of the rain, he heard another voice, lower, rougher. "The signature is close. She can't be far. Search the banks." Adam's heart hammered. Whoever they were hunting her. And if they found him with her, he knew what would happen. He tightened his hold and slipped down the slope toward the river. The current was strong and freezing, but it was the only way to hide his tracks. He stepped into the water, boots sinking, and pushed forward. The rain covered the sound of his movements. The woman stirred once, murmured something soft, then went still again. By the time the lights disappeared behind the trees, Adam's legs were numb. He crawled onto the far bank, gasping for air. The wreck's glow was a faint smear of light in the distance now. He carried her deeper into the forest until he found a small clearing with a fallen pine to shield them from the wind. He laid her down and pulled off his jacket, wrapping it around her. She looked fragile now, her strange armor cracked and broken. Her hand twitched once, reaching toward the mark on his wrist. It still glowed faintly, like a living thing. Adam pressed his fingers against it. It pulsed beneath his skin, warm now, steady, as if echoing a heartbeat that wasn't his own. He sat there for a long time, watching the rain turn to mist. His mind tried to make sense of it. A crash, a wounded woman, a glowing mark, men with strange voices. Maybe he was in shock. Maybe this was all some dream born of exhaustion. But then she spoke again, voice barely more than breath. "Hide, they come." Her eyes opened for a moment, golden light flickering deep inside them. Then she went still again, breathing shallow but alive. Adam looked back toward the valley. Far away, a faint hum rose above the wind, engines, moving fast, sweeping the forest like predators. He didn't know who she was, or what he had just become a part of. But he knew one thing, The people chasing her weren't rescuers. He checked the mark again. It burned faintly against his skin, glowing brighter as the hum grew nearer. Whatever it was, it connected them now. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the trees, the hunters were closing in. Morning came slow and grey. Mist hung over the trees like torn cloth, and the sound of the river had softened to a low murmur. Adam woke with his back against the pine trunk, his clothes soaked, his muscles stiff. The woman, the not quite human, still lay beside him, breathing faintly. For a moment, he hoped it had all been a dream. But then he looked at his wrist. The mark still glowed, a thin circle of pale light beneath his skin, pulsing like a second heartbeat. He didn't know what to do next. She needed shelter. And he needed answers. He lifted her carefully, surprised again at how weightless she felt, and followed the trail east. About 2 miles ahead, he remembered an old ranger cabin, abandoned for years but still standing. The rain had eased by the time he reached it. The door hung crooked on its hinges, but the roof was solid enough. Inside smelled of dust, wet wood, and mice. It would do. He laid her on the narrow cot and started a small fire in the rusted stove. As warmth filled the room, he studied her face, sharp lines, high cheekbones, silver strands in her dark hair that shimmered when the firelight caught them. She looked human, but not quite. Her skin was too smooth, her pulse too slow. When he touched her wrist, her eyes snapped open. "Easy," he said, holding up his hands. "You're safe. I found you by the river." Her gaze darted around the cabin, alert and cautious. Then she looked at him. No fear, just something like calculation. She spoke softly, words broken but clear enough. "You, help me." He nodded. "Yeah. You were hurt. I brought you here." She glanced at his wrist. "You marked." Adam looked down. "You did that to me. What is it?" She didn't answer. Her eyes closed again, as if the effort of speaking had drained her. He sighed and stepped outside to breathe. The sky was clearing, pale light breaking through the clouds. He followed the trail down to where he'd left his truck hidden under branches. That's when he saw the tracks. Heavy boots. More than one pair. They led toward the road, and toward him. His stomach tightened. He climbed into the truck and reached under the seat for his emergency radio. He was about to call for help when a voice behind him said, "Morning." Adam turned. A man stood there in a dark coat, water dripping from his brimmed hat. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Name's Carter," the man said. "Search and rescue. You the one reported the crash?" Adam blinked. "No, I didn't report anything." Carter tilted his head. "Strange. You sure? Folks said someone saw something fall out here last night." "I didn't see much," Adam lied. His throat felt dry. "Heard thunder, maybe a tree fell." Carter stepped closer, mud clinging to his boots. "You didn't see lights in the sky? Maybe a fire down by the river?" Adam forced a laugh. "You think I'd be out here if I did? Storm almost killed me." Carter studied him a moment longer, then smiled again. "Right. Well, you see anything unusual, you call this number." He handed Adam a damp card with no logo, just digits and a symbol that looked like a spiral. "And don't go near the crash site. Dangerous materials." Adam nodded, pocketing the card. "Got it." As soon as Carter disappeared into the trees, Adam tore open his truck door. Something glinted on the inside of the wheel well, a small black disc, blinking red. A tracker. His hands shook as he ripped it free and smashed it against a rock. Sparks flashed, then silence. Back at the cabin, the woman was sitting up now, weak but alert. Her golden eyes met his as he stepped in. "They come?" she asked. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Men. Looking for you." She nodded once, as if she expected it. Then she reached for his wrist. When her fingers touched the glowing mark, the pain came again, but softer this time, more like a pulse of heat. Outside, through the window, he saw the wreckage tracker in his hand flicker once more, then die completely. He looked at her in disbelief. "You did that?" Her voice was faint, but steady. "Bond. You linked. My power, your blood. I stopped them. See you." Adam swallowed hard. You mean this mark links us? She didn't answer right away. Her gaze moved to the fire, watching the flames as if they spoke a language only she could understand. Name, she said at last, tapping her chest. Kyra. He hesitated, then nodded. Adam. Kyra repeated it slowly, almost tenderly, like she was tasting the sound. Adam. The moment stretched between them, strange, silent, heavy with something he couldn't name. Then she looked toward the window, eyes narrowing. Collectors, she whispered. What? She pointed toward the woods. Men. Not your kind, not my kind. They hunt. Adam moved to the window. For a second, he thought he saw movement in the trees, something metallic glinting under the sun. When he turned back, Kyra was on her feet, unsteady but fierce. You lie to them, she said. You live. He stared at her, realization sinking in. The first lie had already been told, to Carter, to himself, and it had saved them both. But now he felt the weight of it. The men in the woods weren't rescuers. The woman in his cabin wasn't human. And the mark on his wrist had tied him to something far bigger than he could understand. Outside, a faint drone echoed through the valley. The sound was rising again. The hunt was far from over. Night returned like smoke over the valley. The wind hissed through the pine needles, carrying the faint buzz of distant machines. Adam sat near the fire, listening, while Kyra rested on the cot. Her wounds were healing faster than any humans could. He had watched the gash on her side close like a time-lapse of growing skin. It was terrifying and beautiful. She hadn't spoken much since the morning. Her eyes, bright gold under the dim firelight, kept shifting toward the windows, as if she could see beyond the trees. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and clear. They will come again, she said. Not to search. To take. Adam looked up. The collectors? Kyra nodded slowly. They find, they trade, they sell life. Not just from this world. From many. He didn't want to believe her, but her tone left no space for doubt. Trade, living things? Like what? Anything that breathes, she said simply. Hunters of all kinds. The fire cracked. For a moment, the cabin felt too small. Adam tried to focus on the normal things, the sound of the rain starting again, the creak of the roof, but his mind was spinning. Why are they after you? He asked. If you're a huntress, why not fight them off? Kyra stared into the flames, her expression distant. I was sent to track them. To end them. But they found me first. She turned her wrist slightly, showing him faint scars that glowed under her skin like silver threads. They used my kind to hunt our own. We do not die easy, but they learn our ways. They take what we are and sell it. Adam's mouth went dry. You're saying there are more of you? Her gaze flicked up, sharp as a knife. Were. Maybe still. He fell silent. The fire flickered, throwing their shadows against the walls. Then Kyra's eyes softened. She looked at his wrist. The mark was glowing again, faint and rhythmic, pulsing with her breath. This bond, she said, reaching out but stopping short of touching him, was made in fear. I thought I die. It saves me, and binds you. Adam looked at it too. The circle shimmered faintly, alive under his skin. Can you remove it? Kyra shook her head. Not until one of us dies. The words landed like a stone. For a long time, neither spoke. Then she said softly, Do you fear me? He hesitated. I don't know what to feel. She tilted her head, studying him. Good. Fear keeps you breathing. Before Adam could respond, a sound cut through the night, a low mechanical hum, moving closer. Kyra was already standing, every muscle alert. She grabbed a metal shard from her belt, its edge glowing faint blue. Stay behind, she whispered. Adam crouched near the wall, peering through a crack in the wood. A small drone hovered just above the tree line, its red light scanning the ground. It turned toward the cabin, beams slicing through the mist. Kyra stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. With one smooth motion, she raised her hand. The air rippled. The drone sparked, shuddered, and fell from the sky like a dying firefly. The light went out. Adam stared at her. What did you just do? Kyra's breathing was heavy now. Power comes from the bond. You feel it, yes? Adam felt his pulse racing. The mark on his wrist was burning again, but not painfully. It was warm, alive, like shared blood. She steadied herself on the table, voice quiet. It drains me when I use it. I need rest. We move at dawn. Where? She looked toward the dark mountains. My ship. It still waits. There is something inside, something they want. He frowned. You mean that crash? You want to go back there? She nodded. The seed. The what? Kyra hesitated, then said, it is not weapon. It is life. It can heal worlds, or end them. That is why they hunt me. Adam rubbed his face. And you brought it here. Great. I did not choose, she said sharply. Then her voice softened. But now you are part of it. He opened his mouth to argue, but before he could, headlights flared in the distance. A vehicle on the forest road. Kyra grabbed his arm. They come again. Adam doused the fire with his boot, smoke curling around them. The cabin fell into darkness. Out the back, she whispered. They slipped into the rain, moving through wet ferns and shadows. Adam's heart pounded in his ears. The lights grew brighter behind them, voices shouting, boots splashing through puddles. He followed Kyra down a narrow slope toward the ravine. They crouched behind a fallen tree just as the first men reached the cabin. Tracks here, one of them called. Kyra's eyes met his. You run, they follow. You hide, they find. We fight, maybe live. Before Adam could argue, she was already moving. Two men approached the fallen tree, flashlights sweeping the ground. Kyra moved like lightning, silent, precise. The first man fell before he could even scream. The second swung his weapon, but she caught it, twisted, and sent him crashing into the mud. Adam watched, frozen. She wasn't human, her movements were too fast, too fluid. Yet when she looked back at him, for a brief second, her face showed something deeply human, exhaustion. Go, she said, pulling him up. They ran until the forest swallowed all sound. The rain turned to mist again, soft and endless. When they finally stopped near the edge of a cliff, Kyra dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Adam crouched beside her. You're bleeding again. Not my blood, she whispered, eyes distant. Theirs. He looked at her, unsure whether to be afraid or grateful. Kyra's hand brushed the mark on his wrist. The glow flared once, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Now you see, she said softly. You are in the hunt too. Adam looked toward the horizon, where faint light was breaking through the storm. He didn't say it out loud, but he knew this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something far bigger, and he had already crossed the line that would never let him go back. By the time dawn stretched over the ridge, the forest was silent again. The storm had passed, leaving behind a thin veil of mist that curled through the trees. Adam's boots were soaked, his hands numb from the cold, but he kept walking. Kyra moved ahead of him, light on her feet despite her wounds. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her golden eyes kept sweeping the trees like she was listening to something the world whispered only to her. They climbed higher through the valley until the trees thinned and frost began to gather on the rocks. The mountains rose sharp and gray ahead, their peaks hidden behind clouds. Somewhere up there, Kyra had said, was her ship. Adam didn't believe half of what she said, but after what he'd seen, the crash, the drone, the men hunting them, belief was a luxury he could no longer afford. Kyra, he said, panting, how far is it? She stopped, looking toward a ridge streaked with dark pine. Close, she said. I feel the call. He frowned. The call? She touched her temple. My ship and I share a link. Like your machines with signals, but deeper. I can feel its pain. That word, pain, hung heavy in the cold air. They pressed on until the forest floor began to glow faintly with ash. Trees stood blackened, their trunks twisted and broken. Then Adam saw it. The wreck lay in a shallow gulch, half buried under rock and pine needles. It didn't look like any aircraft he'd seen. The metal was pale, almost translucent, curving and smooth like it had grown instead of being built. The air around it shimmered faintly, and a low hum pulsed through the ground. Kyra dropped to one knee beside it, her hand brushing the hull. "She still breathes," she whispered. "She waits." Adam stepped closer, or cutting through his fear. "You said this thing, your ship, has something inside. The seed?" Kyra nodded. "It must not fall to them. The seed changes what it touches." "What does that mean?" She looked up, eyes catching the light. "It can heal a dying world. Or turn a living one to dust. It listens to whoever holds it." Adam stared at her. "So you're saying that thing could?" "Yes," she interrupted quietly. "And the collectors know it." The words sank in like ice. Adam turned his eyes toward the forest below. The mist was moving strangely, curling in patterns that didn't follow the wind. His chest tightened. "We're not alone, are we?" Kyra's hand went to her belt. "No. They follow." They moved quickly into the wreck. Inside, the air was cold and dry, smelling faintly of burnt metal and something sweet. Strange lights flickered along the walls, symbols like veins glowing under skin. In the center lay a cracked pod, its surface covered in frost. Inside it, a faint blue glow pulsed. "The seed," Kyra said softly, almost reverently. She placed her hand against the pod. The glow brightened for a moment, responding to her touch. Then she drew back sharply. "It weakens me. It remembers my failure." "What failure?" Adam asked. Kyra's jaw tightened. "I was its protector. I lost it. My people fell because I let it escape. It found this world, and me." Before Adam could respond, a sharp metallic click echoed from outside. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Kyra's eyes met his. "Collectors." He reached for a rusted pipe near the floor, gripping it like a bat. Kyra gave a faint smile, almost sad. "Brave," she murmured, "but foolish." The first collector appeared in the doorway. He wasn't quite human, skin pale as wax, eyes hidden behind mirrored lenses, his movements too smooth. Another followed, then two more. "Step away from the artifact," one of them said. His voice was calm, almost kind. "We're not here to hurt you. We just want what doesn't belong to you." Adam's pulse raced. "You mean the seed?" The man smiled faintly. "You see, he does know something." Kyra moved before anyone could blink. Her hand shot out, the air around her hand vibrating. One of the men flew backward into the wreck wall, crashing hard. The others raised their weapons, glowing rods that hissed like snakes. Adam ducked as a blast seared the air above his head. Kyra spun, her movements impossibly fast, deflecting one strike with her forearm. Sparks lit the dark interior. The hum of the ship grew louder, as if it were waking up. "Go!" she shouted at Adam. "Out! I'm not leaving you. Now!" The force of her voice hit him like a wave. He stumbled toward the exit just as the ship's floor shuddered. A beam of pale light burst from the seed pod, splitting the air. The collectors screamed, then vanished, their bodies disintegrating into dust that shimmered and fell like snow. Kyra collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath. The mark on Adam's wrist burned again, brighter than ever. He rushed to her side. "What happened?" he asked, voice trembling. Her eyes fluttered open. "The seed, it chose to defend." "Defend us?" She nodded weakly. "It still knows me." Adam looked around. The ship's hum had softened again. The light dimmed. "Can they come back?" Kyra shook her head slowly. "No. But more will. Always more." Outside, the wind picked up, carrying a faint echo through the valley, something like a howl, but metallic, distant. Kyra pushed herself to her feet. "We must leave. The ship is dying. Soon, others will come to harvest what's left." Adam helped her stand, glancing once more at the glowing pod. "And the seed?" She hesitated, then reached out and touched the surface. The glow faded, and the pod sealed itself. "It will follow me," she said softly. "Where I go, it goes." As they stepped out into the morning light, the first flakes of snow began to fall, soft and slow. The wreck behind them hissed quietly as it sank deeper into the earth, like a wounded creature returning to rest. Adam looked back once more. "You said it heals worlds," he murmured. "Then why does it destroy everything around it?" Kyra's golden eyes turned toward the horizon. "Because," she said, "every cure begins with pain." And as they vanished into the forest shadows, the sky above them pulsed faintly, like the mark on Adam's wrist, like the heartbeat of something vast and waiting. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled like metal and smoke. Adam and Kyra moved through the pines in silence, their footprints swallowed quickly by mist. The mountain path wound downward into a stretch of old logging roads, empty and half-eaten by moss. The forest around them felt too quiet. No birds, no wind, just the faint hum of the bond pulsing under Adam's skin. They had been walking for hours when Kyra stopped suddenly. "We are being followed," she said. Adam's heart jumped. "Collectors again?" She shook her head slowly. "No. These steps, different. Heavier. Machines behind, but not theirs." He strained his ears, but heard nothing, only the crunch of his own boots. "Maybe it's just paranoia," he muttered. Kyra turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "Paranoia is what keeps your kind alive." Before he could respond, a voice called from the trees. "Adam Gray? That you?" He froze. That voice, he knew it. A figure stepped out from behind the pines, wrapped in a forest green jacket. She pulled down her hood, and for a moment, Adam forgot the fear. "Ren," he breathed. What are you doing here?" His old climbing partner smiled, brushing rain from her cheeks. "Looking for you, idiot. You vanished for 2 days. Rescue team's been combing the valley." Her gaze flicked briefly to Kyra, who stood a few steps behind him, silent and alert. "Who's your friend?" Adam hesitated. She was in the crash." Ren's eyebrows rose. "Crash? You saw it too, then?" She stepped closer. "They sent men from the Bureau out here. Said it was a satellite, maybe something toxic. They're not telling the truth, are they?" Adam felt the weight of the lie he'd told Carter. His mind raced. "No. It's not what they say it is." Ren's expression hardened. "Then tell me what it is. What the hell are you mixed up in?" Before he could answer, Kyra spoke softly. "She lies." Ren turned sharply. "Excuse me?" Kyra's golden eyes didn't blink. "Her scent is wrong. She wears false skin." "Kyra, stop," Adam said quickly, but Ren's face had already shifted from confusion to alarm. "Adam," she said, voice low, "who is she really?" He stepped between them. "Ren, listen. You don't understand." But Kyra was already moving, standing tall and poised like a predator. "You bring them to us," she said to Ren. "You mark the path with your signal." Ren's jaw tightened. "Signal? What?" Then, from the ridge above, a drone dropped from the mist with a sharp metallic whine. Red lights scanned the clearing. Adam's stomach dropped. "Ren, what did you do?" Her voice broke. "I had no choice, Adam. They said you were in danger, that they just wanted the woman alive. I thought." Kyra's eyes burned like molten gold. "You thought wrong." The forest erupted in light. More drones swept overhead, their beams cutting through the fog. Men in dark armor moved between the trees, their voices calm and measured. "Target located. Do not harm the male. Capture the other." Adam grabbed Ren's arm. "Run!" But Kyra didn't run. She raised her hand, and the ground trembled. A pulse of invisible force rippled outward, throwing the first 2 soldiers backward. Sparks danced through the air like fireflies. "Kyra!" Adam shouted, shielding his face. She turned toward him, her eyes glowing brighter. "Go! I'm not leaving you. You will die if you stay." Ren pulled at his sleeve. "She's right, Adam. Move." They stumbled down the slope together as the fight raged behind them. Kyra moved like a shadow through fire, striking with impossible precision. The sound of the drones cut through the air like a swarm of angry bees. They reached the base of the hill, panting. Ren clutched her radio, trembling. We can still call them off. Adam tore it from her hand and smashed it against a rock. No more lies, Ren. Who are they? Tears cut through the dirt on her face. Private recovery team. Government-backed, maybe. They said whatever crashed here wasn't supposed to exist. I just wanted to help you. Adam's anger faded into something hollow. Help me? You led them to her. Above them, the sky flashed. A distant explosion shook the trees. Kyra's voice echoed faintly through the bond. Adam felt it like a whisper inside his head. Run, now. He grabbed Ren's arm and dragged her deeper into the forest. The ground grew rougher, the trees twisted and close. Behind them, smoke curled into the pale sky. When they finally stopped, Ren collapsed against a boulder, breathing hard. She's not human, is she? Adam sank beside her. No. But she's not the monster they're making her out to be either. Ren stared at the ground. Then what is she? He looked toward the ridge where the smoke still rose. A soldier. A survivor. Maybe something more. A branch snapped nearby. Both of them froze. Kyra appeared from the fog, limping slightly but alive. The glow in her eyes had dimmed, her armor cracked. Ren stood quickly, her face pale. You, how? Kyra's gaze was cold. The collectors are gone. For now. You killed them? Ren asked, horrified. Kyra's expression didn't change. They would have done worse to you. Adam stepped between them again. Enough. We need to move. If they found us once, they'll find us again. Kyra looked past him, scanning the tree line. We go north. There is a cave beyond the ridge. Safe ground, for a time. Ren hesitated. You trust her? Adam glanced down at his wrist. The mark still glowed faintly, steady as his heartbeat. I don't have a choice. They started walking again, the three of them, each carrying a different weight. The fog thickened around them, swallowing their shapes as they climbed higher. Behind them, unseen, something moved through the trees, tall, silent, and watching. The collectors were not the only ones hunting now. Kyra paused once, turning toward the dark valley below. They have called others, she said quietly. Not all who hunt me are human. Adam looked at her. Then what are they? She stared into the mist. Things born from the same stars as me, but long fallen from the light. And as the three figures vanished into the mountain fog, the forest seemed to breathe again, whispering a warning that none of them could yet understand. The next morning came without sunlight. The sky was a grey lid pressing down on the peaks, and the air felt thick with something old and waiting. Adam's legs burned from climbing, but Kyra never slowed. Even injured, she moved like the mountain itself made way for her. Ren followed in silence, guilt written in every step. They reached a ridge where the forest thinned into stone and frost. Below them, the world looked drowned in fog. Kyra stopped, her gaze fixed on a cliff wall streaked with ice and carved symbols. This is it, she said softly. Adam frowned. It's just rock. Kyra placed her hand against the stone. The mark on Adam's wrist flared instantly. The mountain groaned like something ancient waking from sleep. Cracks of light ran across the rock face, forming a pattern, circles within circles, glowing faintly blue. Ren stepped back. What the hell? The cliff split open with a deep rumble, revealing a narrow passage. Cold air rolled out, carrying a scent of earth and metal. Kyra looked at them both. Old ground. Built long before your kind walked the sky. Adam hesitated, but followed her inside. The walls were smooth, carved by hands that didn't belong to humans. Strange carvings covered every surface, figures holding glowing orbs, star maps, and beasts with wings of light. The tunnel curved downward until it opened into a vast chamber beneath the mountain. It was like stepping inside the bones of a god. Pillars of crystal rose from the floor, humming faintly with energy. In the center stood a stone cradle large enough to hold two people. Its surface shimmered like still water. Kyra moved toward it, her eyes shining in the dim blue glow. This place remembers me, she whispered. My ancestors left it here, long ago. Adam's voice echoed softly. Your people were here before us. Kyra nodded. Long before. We came to seed worlds, to teach them to heal themselves. But many seeds turned wild. Some grew monsters. Ren ran her fingers across the carvings. You're saying humans? No, Kyra interrupted gently. You were born of this world. But our hands shaped its early breath. Silence settled again, heavy as stone. Adam stared at the cradle. The light within it pulsed like a slow heartbeat. What is that? The bond chamber, Kyra said. It links two minds. Through it, one can share strength, memory, even life. Adam looked down at his glowing wrist. Like what you did to me. Kyra met his eyes. Yes. But incomplete. I gave you a fragment, a spark to keep us both alive. The chamber completes it. He stepped back. Wait, you mean you want to connect more? It's the only way to reach the seed again, she said. The ship is dying, but the seed listens through our link. Together, we can call it. Ren shook her head. You're insane. That thing killed people, Kyra. Kyra turned to her, calm but cold. No. They killed themselves with greed. The seed only reflects what's inside the heart that commands it. Then what makes you think it'll obey you? Ren shot back. Kyra looked at Adam. Because he bears the mark. Adam felt the air tighten around him. Me? I didn't ask for this. Kyra stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. Neither did I. But fate chooses who it will bind. The chamber lights brightened as if hearing her words. A low hum filled the air. Then, without warning, the mountain shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep metallic sound echoed through the tunnel. They found us, Ren whispered. Kyra's eyes narrowed. Not them. Worse. Shapes appeared in the entrance, tall, thin figures cloaked in shifting black metal. Their movements were liquid, their faces blank mirrors reflecting blue light. Kyra's jaw clenched. Shadowborn. Adam whispered, What are they? My kind, she said quietly, twisted by the collector's machines. They are what happens when the seed falls into the wrong hands. The creatures moved closer, their bodies humming like tuned strings. Kyra reached for her weapon, but her strength faltered. The bond mark on Adam's wrist flared bright, burning like fire. The nearest Shadowborn lunged. Adam swung a piece of broken crystal, shattering it across its chest. The creature screamed, no sound, just vibration, and fell backward, dissolving into smoke. Kyra stumbled to the cradle and placed her hand on its surface. Adam, come here. He hesitated. Now. He ran to her side. The cradle's light expanded, wrapping around them both. His mind filled with heat, images, and sound, memories not his own. Planets burning. 1,000 voices crying in languages he didn't understand. Then, Kyra's face, her eyes full of pain and fierce determination. Through the connection, her thoughts whispered in his head. You see now. What they did. What we must stop. The chamber shook harder. More Shadowborn poured in, shrieking in electric tones. Kyra's voice thundered inside his skull. Call it. Adam didn't know how, but the mark on his wrist answered. The light from the cradle shot upward, piercing the roof. Outside, somewhere above the mountain, a deep hum replied, the sound of something ancient and alive awakening. The Shadowborn froze, their mirrored faces cracking. The light spread, turning their forms to dust. The mountain trembled again, but now the hum was softer, like a heartbeat slowing to peace. When it was over, the chamber dimmed. The air smelled of ozone and ash. Kyra fell forward into Adam's arms, her body weak and trembling. Did we do it? He asked. She nodded faintly. The seed heard us. It moves. Ren stood at the edge of the chamber, wide-eyed. What happens now? Kyra looked up, her golden eyes fading to pale amber. Now, we pay the cost. The cradle's light began to fade, sinking into the stone. The mark on Adam's wrist cooled, no longer glowing but etched deep like a scar. Kyra smiled weakly. Your world is safer now. For a while. For a while? He echoed. There is always another shadow, she whispered. But you will not face it alone. As she closed her eyes, the mountain gave one last sigh, and the cracks of light along the walls dimmed into darkness. Adam sat beside her, heart pounding, realizing the bond had changed again, stronger now, deeper than before. He didn't just feel her presence. He felt her heartbeat, steady inside his own. Outside, snow began to fall, silent and endless, covering the scars of what had been. But beneath it all, deep in the mountain's bones, the chamber still breathed, waiting for whatever would come next. The world outside had turned white. Snow fell thick and silent, smothering the forest below the ridge. Adam stood at the mouth of the cavern, breath fogging in the cold air, staring out at a landscape that no longer felt like Earth. The mountain seemed alive now, its stone humming faintly, veins of blue light still pulsing beneath the snow. Behind him, Kyra stirred. She looked fragile but fierce, her skin pale as frost, her golden eyes dimmed yet still burning with purpose. Ren sat near the wall, clutching her jacket around herself, silent and shaken. None of them had spoken since the chamber sealed itself. Kyra broke the silence first. "It has begun," she whispered. Adam turned. "What has?" "The seed's awakening," she said. "It moves toward the sky. The collectors will come for it. And when they do, this mountain will not survive." Ren's voice cracked. "Then we run." Kyra's gaze sharpened. "There is nowhere to run." The air trembled. A low vibration crawled up from the earth, like a heartbeat growing louder. Adam felt it through his boots, through the mark on his wrist. "They found us," Kyra said quietly. Moments later, the first explosion echoed from the valley. Smoke rose between the trees. Then came the sound of engines, dozens of them. The collectors were advancing, their machines crawling up the slopes like a swarm of locusts. Adam's chest tightened. "There's got to be another way out." Kyra shook her head. "No. This place was built as a cradle and a tomb." Ren stood. "We can't just sit here and die." Kyra met her eyes. "We won't. But life demands a choice." She stepped into the open air, snow swirling around her. The wind tore at her hair, carrying whispers from the valley below, strange mechanical voices and the hum of power charging. Adam followed. "Kyra, what are you doing?" She looked up at the clouds. "The bond gives us strength, but it also ties your fate to mine. I can end this, if you let me use it fully." He frowned. "Use it how?" Her voice was calm but heavy. "The seed listens to two hearts. Together, we can command it one last time, to release its energy, to burn away everything the collectors bring. It will stop them. But it will also consume us." Ren stepped forward, her face pale. "There has to be another way." Kyra turned toward her. "There is. If the bond is broken, I can call the seed alone. You and Adam might live." Adam's stomach dropped. "Broken? How?" Kyra's eyes softened. "You must sever it, by killing me." The words struck like thunder. For a moment, only the wind spoke. Adam shook his head. "No. I'm not doing that." Kyra smiled sadly. "Then we both die, and the collectors will take what they came for." Ren stepped between them. "Adam, wait. Maybe she's right. If that thing wipes out half the mountain." "Stop," Adam snapped. "You don't understand. She's not just some weapon." Kyra's voice was gentle. "No. But I was made to be one." From below, the first of the collector machines appeared, black shapes glinting through the snow, moving in precise lines. Blue energy crackled between them, forming a barrier that climbed toward the cliff. "We're out of time," Kyra said. "Choose." Adam looked at her, really looked. Her face was calm, but behind her eyes was exhaustion, pain, and something deeper, a quiet hope that somehow he'd find another answer. He reached for her hand. "Then we do this together. Both of us." Kyra's expression broke, half sorrow, half disbelief. "You would share death with me." "I'd rather die standing with you than live knowing I let them win." The mark on his wrist flared, brighter than it ever had before. Kyra gasped, her eyes wide as the light spread across her skin too. "The bond is complete," she whispered. The ground split beneath them. Energy roared through the air, shaking the mountain to its roots. The sky turned white with lightning. The collector's machines fired upward, beams of blue slicing through the storm. Kyra lifted her arms, and the light poured from her like a river. Adam felt his mind stretch, beyond the mountain, beyond the planet. He saw the seed in the clouds above, a sphere of pure light, alive and pulsing. It answered Kyra's call like a heartbeat finding its rhythm again. The collector's weapons faltered. The ground rippled, cracking open. Kyra's voice echoed inside his head. Hold the bond. Do not let go. He gritted his teeth, pain burning through every vein. The light spread outward, washing over the forest, the machines, the valley itself. When it ended, the world went silent. Snow fell again, soft, quiet, endless. Adam opened his eyes. He was lying on his back, the sky above him calm and clear. The mountain was cracked but standing. The valley below was empty, no machines, no smoke, just white silence. He turned. Kyra lay beside him, her eyes closed, her hand still resting on his wrist. The mark had faded to a faint silver scar. Kyra, he whispered, shaking her shoulder gently. Hey, we made it. Her lips curved faintly. You chose, well. Her voice was barely a breath. The seed sleeps now. It will wait for a new dawn. You'll rest too, he said, tears freezing on his cheeks. You'll heal. You always do. Kyra smiled weakly. No, Adam. My part ends here. Yours begins. He shook his head. Don't say that. She reached up, her hand trembling, and touched his face. Do not fear the bond. It will guide you. It carries my strength and my heart. Her eyes met his one last time, gold fading to soft amber. Remember, the stars are not gods. They are promises. And then her hand fell still. For a long time, Adam sat there, holding her hand, listening to the wind move through the broken pines. Somewhere deep beneath the snow, he could feel the faint hum of the seed, alive, waiting, peaceful. When he finally stood, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. Light touched the mountainside, and the snow glittered like stardust. Ren approached slowly, eyes red, voice shaking. She's gone. Adam looked toward the horizon. No, he said quietly. She's everywhere. And as the wind rose again, carrying the echo of a soft, familiar hum, Adam felt the mark on his wrist warm once more, gentle, steady, eternal. He turned toward the valley and began walking, the snow crunching beneath his boots, knowing the world had changed forever.